Against jumps. Spectrum wants to hear your views. You can SMS at any time during the show. Type Spectrum, leave a space, type in your contribution and name, then send it to 7197. Your views, our interviews on Spectrum, Radio 1 FM 90.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to Spectrum on Radio 1. I'm your host. On Spectrum tonight, what are the likely implications of the proposed tax measures in the national budget? What else can we do to maximize the available resources? Details emerging from the proposed budget process indicate that the resource envelope of the next budget is projected at 14 trillion shillings, with 9 trillion shillings being generated through direct taxation by the URA, while the balance is from both local and foreign borrowing. This means Uganda will fund its budget by 64%, a decline from the 80% in this current financial year. Recently, the Uganda Revenue Authority reported a shortfall of 270 billion shillings, and it is very likely that the tax body will not meet the 9 trillion shillings target. It is reported that Uganda loses 690 billion shillings each year in tax exemptions and wages. The government has been issuing them to try and support investment, but according to some experts, it is time to actually scrap these measures. The country also loses half a trillion shillings to corruption, with procurement alone taking up to 300 billion shillings. The NRM Advisory Committee on the budget came up with some tax proposals, but it is not clear if all of them have been taken on board, while the country faces a daunting task to raise the revenue required to finance the budget. Many Ugandans are aware of taxation, since the current tax regime mainly focuses on the traditional areas, which are illegal tax. So now we ask, are the proposed tax measures fair and adequate to raise the required money? Considering the challenge, are there some austerity measures that can be taken to maximize the use of the other business tonight? Mr. Julius Mukuya, coordinator of the Civil Society Private Advocacy Group, at the World of the Nigeria Muscle Transmission Center. We expect to be joined by Honorable Amos Lugoro, the Treasurer of North MP, also Chairman of the Budget Committee in Parliament during the place, and Honorable Geoffrey Kanye, Shadow Minister of Finance, Planning and Economy. What kind of budget are we looking for?
For me, like any other journalist, I'm excited about the coming budget because the importance of the budget in the country is coming with the cost of living. I am hoping that in the tax saving, I won't have an increase in budget of paying more taxes, but at the same time, I'm looking forward for that to see what kind of service we have in terms of the road, the school, the transportation. And definitely, when I look at the situation in this country, that there are some dire habits that are dealing in this country, that we look forward for the government, better to where we going to. So for me, I'm really excited. We are engaged in trying to help increase awareness of communities, the public, to show that they listen to the budget and reflect on what the promises were made in that financial year, and the new things that are being made in the coming financial year, but at the same time tell us the performance and how government has done in terms of fulfilling what is promised.
What kind of budget that will spark growth?
According to the National System of Paper, which tells us indicative that what government is planning, we still have mixed feelings, but there are some good and bad proposals in the and I come to government in terms of the number of reforms that have been sparked. When we look at trying to government, especially Ministry of Finance, to look at having a single treasury account, for example, it's going to eliminate the cost of government accounts, and we believe that we have to saving for money. If we look at issues to deal with having a Saturday commission, definitely we are saying that yes, this will not only increase motivation for workers who want their money on time, but it is likely also to reduce the cost to workers who are going to be there. So we are also seeing in terms of investment in infrastructure, for example. I mean, that's another area. We are looking forward to have better roads, which is very critical in terms of what is happening. And also for me, is that it is very critical in terms of time.
How different will it be from your goal?
Now, that is the question, Edmund, and every citizen for us, we are grappling with ourselves. Was government able to deliver on what it promised last year? And with the new promises that are in the national budget, the government able to deliver on these promises, especially that we continue to behave the same way as we do. And here I talk in terms of the way we spend money. You know, when you're a poor man and you spend like a rich man, there must be a problem. Because
when you are a poor man and you spend like a rich,
you want to spend like a rich man, there is a problem with you. Because it means that immediately you get the money, that's how you squander it. I remember they telling me that if you go to Congo, you find the money sitting in the heart of the Mercedes Benz outside the heart. I mean outside his house. But the house don't house the heart.
I've seen it himself.
You begin to, I think there's something wrong with you. So these are kind of things that we are looking out for. So when we look at the other general report, this is just a message for 2020. It gives us clues in terms of exactly what is happening, and one of the things that we are looking out for is that you progressively see issues to deal with unquestionable expenditure. You are progressively seeing Auditor General not verifying whether actually resources were spent in what they were supposed to be spent on. You are progressively seeing the flouting of procurement rules. You are progressively seeing projects that are not finished but have been paid for completely. That is a very worrying situation for us to look at. If we put that aside, you also realize that we also begin to spend on projects that don't mean anything.
Like, don't talk about cable cars. We expect cable cars in the city. Believe me about it.
I want to say part of why I'm paid where I work is to look at the budget. And when I looked at the public investment plan for 2013-2014, I came across the project called increasing citizens awareness of Tumbuke.
Let me hear that again. I've heard it for the first time in my life. Say it again.
And when I came across it,
let's get a project here. Say it again, sir.
Increasing community awareness of Tumbuke.
Go on.
And when I look at it, I was like, probably it is an outcome of a particular project, but a specific project being allocated 4 billion guaranteed.
This is how people mock it.
Under the Ministry of Agriculture, to teach people on how to eat the mukene. And for me, that itself,
that's not a comment.
Yes. Then I ask myself, how many of these projects are there? How many of these projects are there that we are like to say, hold on, despite all the problems we have in this ministry, we do some serious investment in this particular ministry. But come up with that kind of project? That's a joke.
So, and actually, this is corruption. This is technical.
I think for you, there is a lot of unseriousness. Have such a project approved. We can have innovation in having new projects, but have an innovation in mukene, that is something that we can't share. So who else looks at what projects are being there and what projects? For me, that's another area that we should look at.
So listeners, this is Spectrum on Radio 1. Tonight we're not talking about question. What are the likely implications of the proposed tax measures in the 2014-2015 national budget? What else can we do to maximize the available resources? Our guest, Mr. Julius Mukuda, coordinator of the Civil Society Partners Institute, also the head of the Act Forward, Harry State. We also are joined right now by Honorable Amos Kiboro, Intended not until also chairman of the budget committee. The most welcome on the report.
Thank you so much.
What's your answer for this budget? What kind of budget do you have in the budget?
We are looking at a budget that has been clearly prioritized in terms of decisions related to investing significant sum of our money in infrastructure investment. So you are looking at a budget that will focus so much on development and therefore lesser resources in what we may call the social sector. Well, we invest significant sums of money in the social sector, i.e. education and health, but in terms of prioritization, is now increasing focus on infrastructure investment. I'm not saying this is the best way to go, because as we invest in infrastructure, you may put a question as to what are these roads going to do? What are they transporting? So you have to answer the question of the return on investment on these roads. So when you put up a road and it's transporting nothing, that's the investment that is going to do. Well, previously you have heard of roads that were constructed using a lot of money. And what they were doing is to drive customers on the roads. So when you are choosing a good road to construct, you must take some investment. In fact, donors usually sit on the international IRR for each road. Before we take a decision on the road going below 12% cash. But you look at the list of roads that we have in this country have not been constructed and have been designed and properly. Feasibility studies have been done and the IRR terminal. And quite surprisingly, when we make choices which roads to construct, we choose a road. I have nothing to do. I mean, I have no problem with that. It becomes a political road. I'm not trying to be, personal. But you choose a road in Karamoja, and you can so many kilometers of road on the political ground they justify. Yes, they should get a road. But but when you use economic variables, econometrics, you cannot justify that road.
So anything they're asking for in Karamoja, is there a particular reason?
Well, look at the point. It's important, because the Constitution demands that there should be equitable development. That's a requirement in the executive principle and chief policy. I think in the preamble section of the Constitution.
So you should give them a road?
Yeah, so you should give them a road. But of course, I would agree. Because you realize that in our budget, we are paying over $1 trillion in interest on some non-performing and less performing loans. So this is the dilemma. Now, when you invest a road, at the same time in a road, at the same time, you must invest in the wealth creating sector. What am I talking about?
Which one?
Yeah, of course you have to invest in oil. That's the sector that
$300,000 a year. What more do they?
300. That's very laughable.
The bank and do it.
Yeah, but I can appreciate because I'm involved in some of these issues that we as a country still have a challenge. So what I'm trying to say is, as we invest in roads, we should not forget that we have to invest in these productive sectors: agriculture, industry, tourism, trade, such sectors that relate to the creation of wealth, the creation of jobs in the country.
My friend here is the chairperson of the budget. And is he lamenting me that?
I'm not lamenting.
When we hear an answer, he might say, what am I going to do?
I was coming to the answer.
Yes.
Because I've just become a chairman of this committee. We have to see how we balance this allocation of resources between this so-called infrastructure and the productive sector. But we should also not forget that one of our biggest shocks in the budget all along has been drought. Each time we get a drought, the macroeconomic is affected. Inflation, have all these problems. Most of the indicators are not met. Most of our targets are not met. So, what do we need to do? I think we have realized that because of climatic change, that water infrastructure becomes a critical priority, where we need to invest our money. In fact, if you ask me today, between water infrastructure and the roads, where would you put most of your money? I have to say it's in water infrastructure.
It touches more people.
It touches more people, it leads to production. You know, I've been talking about a double maximum in the past, in terms of rainfall, that you get rain in March, somewhere May, and then September. But these days, you get very short rains. Farmers lose hope. And because of that, you have a problem in the economy of the country. You know, the tax base is affected, and so on and so forth. So, all indicators are affected. So what do you have to do? In the long run, in the medium to long run, we have inevitably invest money in water infrastructure, whether we want it or not. But you know, I'm not alone. You know, I'm chairman of the budget committee. I'm chairman. So many other decision makers, the executive. The best I can do is to advise correctly that this is the way to go. You know, and it's up to anybody to understand it.
Yeah. You just did but I guess one with your fellow Minister of Finance. You're most welcome.
Thank you very much.
Well, talk to us about your own assessment of this budget. How would you cut the will it expand growth?
No, this budget is not new. And the budget in the past 3 years. You will agree with me that to go in the past direction from the 8, 7, 6 now this year. The Bank of Uganda declared 5. So we are really going in the past direction. And these are some of the issues that you have faced. The people side and the government of the challenges that we are not directing our revenue in the productive sector of the economy. Our growth has been between 1990 to 2000, mainly because of the idle opportunities, the natural resources that were exploiting because of low population. But now there's depletion of these God-given natural resources, and that's why. And then we are putting resources in consumptive items. So no wonder we're having the fast growth. And the trend is going to worsen if we don't change and redirect our strategy.
Honorable Kanya, I mean, if things happen, some people have been and you could be finance minister tomorrow. Suppose that what kind of budget would you take to
I would read a budget that agree partners with what the current budget is focusing on in terms of infrastructure, energy, that's the road, energy, and then agriculture. Because unless you put money in the productive sector of the economy, we are not going to move forward. And then downside the governance system. I'll take a bold step like President Kennedy, like when between 1986 and 1990, to restructure governance, retrench civil servants, soldiers, reduce parliament. Even if I serve one term, reduce parliament about 100 MPs, 21 ministers, and create some of these ratio of vehicles. You know, in Tanzania you go by the way, you find that government vehicles are used for 10 years. But here, 3 years.
Because of the road?
No, Tanzania they have even worse road than we are, but they have that culture and spirit.
They use things nice.
Yeah, so that would be the kind of budget that we project, tighten fiscal discipline, because also besides that, you have history in terms of inflation cost. Karuma Dam is going to cost about 4 trillion. There's no dam anywhere in the world that costs that. The South Africans came here, they are going to do the dam at half the cost. Yeah, the road construction cost here in Uganda is economical and accessible anywhere in the world. So these are some of the areas that I would create reforms and really start one term and move the country forward.
You will need a lot of other people to do that, a lot of advisors.
But take at the moment, we don't need rocket science to do some of these things. And I think it's a question of sacrifice. And I would love if we are guided by science and technical advice rather than politics. And the question of which road should we take and which road should we go to. You see, at the end of the day, it's about politics and determining which road to take to do. If it was about the technical advice, which road to do, I think the rate of return on something would be even far greater than others. That's why you find that the roads that would have boosted tourism are less around, but you rather have another road somewhere else in the country because of the police force.
The one that goes to money is a very bad one. But you still seriously think we should not have a road in Karamoja?
It's not about Karamoja. It's about what determines which road should be built. Do we have a formula? Do we have a criteria which road should be built? And do we agree on that particular area? Is it technically, is it a technical advice or is it political advice? For me, that's
okay, so there's too much politics and there's a lot of waste. Yes. A lot of expensive ones. Heavy investment on the current expenditure but on development. This time they try to realign it with more, having more development. Let's talk about some of the taxation measures that have been touted. Which new taxes? I will look at selling taxes.
I mean, taxes, there's something I want to speak candid on as Ugandans that we need money to power growth. That is for sure. But the way to collect it, and I mean is that we don't need to be desperate. Tax each and everything. If you just follow the study work up and say we are going to tax paradigm, for example, but the amount of money will come out of this. But of course the other part is the importance of paradigm to Uganda. It's not a luxury, it's a basic. But when I hear the point of why you want tax paradigm, that again for me defeats my understanding.
Use it to
that you are letting people to let us tax it so they can
we should be more expensive.
Yeah, but that's not the only argument.
Why don't you enforce let the police have enforcement mechanisms?
What's the other point about that?
We have been using these kind of shadow bans. We have to carry over for such a long time. You know how they are disastrous.
People should have electricity
in home. People should have electricity.
in their house.
And we have these naturally given resources.
So people to move from shadow ban.
Yes, so what we are saying here, get me clear. We have to begin collecting resources from that same area and move those resources. No, listen, let me make a point. Because what we are suggesting in here is that we need for sure solar lanterns, solar lamps. They are there. One I bought one the other day costing.
They are totally out of touch with reality.
No, I'm in reality. I am. When you're going to transform a country, you have to take bold steps. It's not about taxing the poor. It's not about taxing the poor. Even without a tax, the price of kerosene is already at 2,800. You remember one time when the minister announced the tax on kerosene and the price went to 2,800. Did it go down when the tax was never approved?
Why are we taxing?
It didn't. It simply remained there. Take the case for water. People have been saying don't tax water. But when we tax water, a gallon of water, the maximum after tax, it costs a gallon should be 40 shillings. But look how much are they charging? 200 shillings to get a can of water. So that margin of 160 shillings, does it go to government or it goes into private hands?
Give them the question that this taxation structure is
Let me say here, it is going by the government is not going to let this project because you see, poor people do not have the money to buy the paraffin, the projection of 15 billion thing is not maintained because people are going to be entering their house quite early. When the moon is there, they open their moon.
Yeah. They open the roof a little bit.
So I would really,
So the moonlight can come there.
I would really encourage the government, and that's why the other day when I supported the EPA, that some of my colleagues did understand. Therefore, and that's going to agriculture. Because once we have stability, then we take the stuff like Congo and South Sudan. But by thinking that we are going to tax paraffin, tax sugar, tax private schools, you are just going to discourage, because these are areas where the government is supposed to provide the service.
Let's take a break. We'll be back.
This is a warning from Kabuleme. All the germs in this house cannot listen well, because I will always sing as you germs. I have seen how miserable you make the life to our children. You take away their health and happiness. You make them too sick to play. Injections. I am here to tell you that when I come into this country,
Mr. Mukunda is asking why they want to tax kerosene. But you can say a figure which has been attached there. They want to raise that amount of money. That is the reason.
But I'm telling you,
I think maybe Honorable Gorobi, since you are the chairperson of the budget committee, you should lay down to us the tax measures that you have seen there. Because the ones you're seeing there were proposed by the NRM committee. I don't know if all of them have been carried forward.
I didn't think of it that way.
What are some of those tax measures? Take us through the tax measures, so that we can get an informed point of view what actually is in the
at the same time, I put the kerosene.
It's the things which are there.
When you remember, you can trust. No further.
Okay, we are coming back.
Suddenly, we color your world. Spectrum on Radio 1 FM.
Coming on?
Welcome back on Spectrum tonight. What are the likely implications of the proposed tax measures in the 2014-2015 national budget? What else can we do to maximize the revenue on the our guest, Honorable Amos Kipura, Senator North MP, also chairman of the budget committee, saying right here, tax the poor are really high.
That's not what I say.
Coordinator of the Civil Society Bike Advocacy Group, also the head of program Honorable Geoffrey Kayato, County MP, Shadow Minister for Finance, Planning and Economic Development. Really want to call it and talk to them.
Well, just saying exactly when
Yes, Honorable Kanya, talk to us. You were complaining about high costs, but we know that road costs are
for example, according to a study by University, our youth education sector has gone down some. The poor people in those areas in my context and this context use this kerosene to revive. If you get me. So by taxing this paraffin kerosene, we are going to affect the quality of education. In some health centers in this country, women give birth and the only light available is being powered by this kerosene paraffin. So we are really not going to affect the quality of education, but even the quality of people who are to survive in the health centers. So we are condemning people to death intellectually, but also physically. And this kind of tax is to mobilize the people of this country to this kind. Let me provide that on purpose. You are telling a woman who takes care of the sick at home at night, they will tax you for taking care of the sick. You are telling a woman who is breastfeeding at night, we are going to tax you for breastfeeding your kid at night. You are telling the 50% of women who deliver at home, who don't deliver in health center, we are going to tax you for having delivered at home, even at night. Those are the kind of scenarios. I agree with him that we need to move people from using Tadoba to electricity.
They can't afford bread, let them eat cake.
This is a good right? No, I don't think that is the scenario that I'm talking about.
You can't buy bread.
You know, what I was saying is that even without tax, these fuel companies were already imposing a very high tariff, on kerosene. So
The tax effect of this 200 shillings per litre is actually not going to be, is not going to cause a very serious problem on the price, on the final price.
It's not the
consumer price. But I want to give a small example, Edmund, that when we tax water, that small margin that I talked about, the VAT on water, what has happened this year in the coming budget? We are able to raise more resources, and we are sending additional resources to the tune of 30 billion shillings to water-stressed areas. People who had no access to water before, simply because of the tax we put on water. So we should not be, pretend.
I totally agree that we avoid that operation and the inflation cost. That we need to come up with anti legislation to regulate in the market.
You know how difficult it is to enforce legislation.
Yes. So that is what we need. We should not use government failure to regulate. Import tax, and I thought that's something the community and government need to move forward. Because tomorrow I'm going to say that because people are using guns, killing people on the street, we are going to move guns from policemen. Are we going to say like that?
Let's look at the taxes. Taxes on tobacco, taxes on unprocessed.
No, I mean, but for me, Edmund, let us move from looking at this tomorrow. Let us deal with the issue. Which are big ones. I have findings here which tell me that there are so many unregistered businesses in Kampala, what is so common. And this is where a close to 240,000 businesses
But they're already doing that.
are not registered.
They're doing that already.
Why don't we support URA to register these businesses?
Not URA.
And for me, they are saying that if they can do that, they can raise 444 billion annually. Forget about this 80 billion.
All those measures we are talking about are already underway. In fact, we have provided more resources in Uganda Registration Services Bureau and the URA at the same time to be able to broaden the tax and to improve tax administration. That we have already done. But we have really to appreciate that every Ugandan is participating in this. There is nobody that has been condemned to poverty.
Let's talk about tax in agriculture. The Longhorn country, should they be taxed for the
Well, all along we have not been taxing the agricultural inputs and agricultural products in this country. That is a sector that has been entirely tax-free. But I think what we need to look at here is the income earned by a livestock farmer who is rich enough. We can argue that maybe a person who owns more than 100 cows.
Why 100?
That is subject to discussion. That's subject to discussion, and we say that such a person could pay income tax.
Nobody doesn't.
So you say we don't like about it.
In
the next 3 or 5 years, the tax people will come.
Because income tax is there for anybody.
Let's talk about VAT on process.
I mean, VAT on the process, everyone has mixed feelings on that. One is that process milk, that is a high level value in terms of the value of what is the process milk. I look at tobacco children, they are like to be having some money. And the companies that are also doing this, they are companies that are like to give their business out of this. But the only challenge I have is that once it's taxing, when I look at all these many producing plants that are coming up and these types of things that are coming up, it's going to discourage them, add value and have more products of milk.
So you think it will start the sector?
So to these other ones, it might like a drop the sector. Let's first have a strong direct sector, and then you can tax.
Let's talk about the private schools. They want to reduce taxes on private schools. Is that a good thing?
Well, private schools are actually, begin with, they provide a social service here. But secondly, it's a business. I don't expect a person before you go into a school, you must expect the profits. Your profits must be taxed. They have enjoyed some form of exemption that was actually provided by the government on a temporary arrangement. And now it is time, because we had to have certain private schools coming in to bridge the gap that existed there.
So the honeymoon is over.
Yeah, the honeymoon is over.
What about business? Should we have diverted from new companies?
You know, all these tax companies that have been imposed to government do not have a fascinating economy before. Because the argument really that economies are backed by government, and I respect that idea. You see, you need to allow some of this area to spark consumption. And once you start consumption, you start employment and growth of the sector. So all these taxes being proposed in merely taxing private schools are just to be ways to indicate that as a quality of education. Uganda had the highest comparative advantage in East Africa, being a former British colony, English speaking. Tanzania, Kiswahili, Kenya, Kiswahili, German, and so forth. It is only Uganda, it is Rwanda, French. So many countries are bringing their children here. Now we have gone down. So now you tax the school. What has been keeping that percentage is on wage report is because of the private schools. Most of these private schools are surviving on loan. All of them by the same Yes. So this tax component on private schools, supply of new computers worldwide. During the retrenchment program, it was agreed that every person in office should be able to be computer literate. Now, you tax this, we are banned all computers. You tax this, we are going to discourage use of computers and so forth. You are taxing paraffin, you are taxing diesel. I have made very clear proposal. Government can save 200 billion by fighting corruption and downsizing government. You think so? Yes, because for example, in Ministry of Public Service alone, last year, according to the report, more than 200 billion was stolen in the prison sector. But it was not talked about because the focus was in the office of the Prime Minister because they don't have that good money. So we can make this saving by really doing strict and clear and fight corruption and make savings and spark growth. Impose this tax, the economy is going to grow at lower percentage.
Yeah, but I thought I should clarify on the tax on schools because we are talking about a tax on profit.
Okay.
On profit. You know, it's not a company, a school that does not make profit does not have to pay.
Well, but some of the profit might be
It's only the profit-making school. Well, take the example of this school in Kampala, you know, I want to believe, I haven't looked at their books, but I want to believe if I look at how much a student in that school, a pupil in that school,
how much
pays, I think $1 million shillings. You know, such schools should be able to make profit.
But some of them are still profit.
Yes, but we are talking about profit.
I think
we are talking about profit.
I want to agree with you that let us look at profits. But I want us to take it further and say these schools, most of them, like you said, have loans. So probably they are not related to the profits, which is okay. So they are going to expand. Secondly, is they will make profits, but they want to expand. Because if you look at some of these schools, every year they are expanding. And so nothing is to
let me just give you a point. Who is getting that the civil servant? Who is paid is 200,000 in the month. So you are just going telling them, stealing more, and take your children.
Yeah, but when
so for me, is expansion. Once they are expanding, then once they are expanding, we shouldn't tax that money for expansion. Let's talk about tax dividends.
Let's talk about something. Let's talk about sugar. 100 shillings, you know, taxes higher than
yeah, you know, the price of sugar today, I don't consume sugar. I think it's about 2,000 children. Yeah, my children. Because it is the journey of my life.
I hope you don't
No, but I advise them not to take much sugar. Yeah. But the price of sugar is about 2,700 shillings. Yeah, and an additional 100 shillings on top of 2,500. It's not asking for too much. Be able to raise 8 billion shillings, which is used to pay, you know, various currency costs in UPP, USD, and Euclid. You know, I wanted to argue that, you know, in most cases people argue about expenditure, where I'm spending the money. When it comes to tax, it's resisting completely. And my colleague here, Kanya here, is totally adamant, you know, and I don't understand why. Why? Because he would be the first person to bash government for the poor roads, for the poor UPE, lack of this and lack of that. And when you talk about tax,
let's talk about gambling. How should we tax?
Well, gambling, you know, is something that you may not avoid. in a growing economy. Yes. Because that's part of the tertiary sector. It's going to be there. Yeah. That's not the best thing to have in a country. Yeah. To have people gambling from money.
I think they are becoming very quick.
It has to be a regulated sector.
We have
and we have to tax it.
I think so. I don't
want to
people just become
but at the moment, why do people resist the tax? I think that's a question that must be answered.
We'll get some preachers to talk about it. Get people to change their hands. Honorable Geoffrey Kanya, I would like to talk to us about this reintroduction of 1% million to national tax. And we still not 5,000 every hour, not that. Why did you think that?
No, 1% levy on international funds.
They want to play it.
No, they have already proposed, but we already have the tax bill for us. The 1% international funds is a matter that needs to be looked at from the international business. And because in some countries you travel, they charge you for receiving a call and for also calling. So this 1% may not be very dangerous. Yeah, we should encourage people to do things like that.
Talk about the 5,000.
Now, the issue of the 5,000, I'm very happy that you brought it. That proposed basically of smartphone. I have the study by the way. I want you guys to go to your internet. They study by the American Agency for Health. He says that this smartphone
to reduce the lifespan.
Seriously.
And
exactly, I'm very happy. And therefore, the proposal by the committee was touched on smartphone, not the phone of my mother, my sister, and the road anyway, so that we can discourage, but not solve the problem. So there is a new technology that is being developed by the West to really make sure that there is safety on this smartphone. But as of now, the way the youngsters are using it, young people from rich families, seriously using life.
Every 10 years you lose 5 minutes of your life.
Exactly. So the focus was all on the smartphone, but the committee has dropped it, and now I don't know the way.
You know, even combing your hair reduces your lifespan. Maybe it's more things than using the smartphone. This is Dr. Moreto on our number. 041 881 031 266 039 00318 26139. Because it's part of the estimate that they don't come in my country. We wait for the president same time. The number 041 031 266 039 we continue to talk at the end of this.
So there was general misunderstanding about that component. And also the question, people say we are not opposed to paying tax, but how does that increase? Exactly. People say if, for example, capitation was increased 7,000 shillings, now it's only 8,000 shillings a year.
7,000?
Yes.
They are lowering it.
Yeah, they are lowering it. If our teachers were getting good money, if our policemen were well paid, if there was no corruption, if government was going to reduce the waste, why don't they need it? This is all contract and dispute. Why people got good money? Because the trailer company is a cartel. Instead of developing the railway network with cheaper, they just want the road because the trailer companies must continue using it. Because if you move to the railway network, then they will have no business.
Spectrum, we are behind the news. We are soon getting cable cars. Maybe they'll carry coffee to Mombasa as well. Spectrum, yes, your name.
My name is John.
John is honorable defense.
I would like to ask the people in the studio on the government of the parliament. I have a question about apart from what we are discussing. In this kind of cases, creating the government, the country only business of creating better jobs. About the local level, the government should form government and investment contribution. But given that taxation regimes that they are proposing, there are opportunities for future investment and also to relocate resources to those domestic sectors which are required for that development. Number two, I would like also the members in the especially the chairman of the government committee to give more information whether the budget proposal, we are also looking at the element of public discipline given the policy measures which the international committee is using so that donor support is being reduced. let other measures in place for the budget so that there are no wastage. Number 3, unless the chairman of the committee to tell me how much this budget is going to allocate the chapter because the budget sector in the future can therefore do that which is fair development or increased taxation in the future so that the resources to establish the utilities and the development is secured.
Spectrum, hello. Good evening, your name?
I'm thinking of saying that issue. Thank you for my question, Mr. Olaric. We gave you the mandate as the opposition. You are delivering. You say you don't have the power because you are the one to check the government. If they are not getting value for money, so that's your role. But if you come, then you are doing nothing. Thank you.
She's got your selection. Let's get here and get the responses. Honorable.
I did not hear the question.
Also, the review discussed
yeah, but he was just saying that what austerity measures that because there is reversing the growth.
Reversing growth.
Yeah, economic growth. So what austerity measures are we putting in place to make sure that the relocation
shadow minister
for the my alternative I have said it being categorically clear that we need to have a system that is frugal. Our procurement system we need to ensure that we have men and women who have we need to enhance transparency, but sometimes government does not get down with proposals.
You want the San Lorenzo for ministers?
Yeah, but you see my friends, Rwanda is here. They give you targets, perform and deliver. The first stage is, why do you have a driver, take the car to the garage, buy the spare part, all these facilities. We have, for the last 3 years, the government said they are going to do a center of the college. They are not doing it. We have talked about quality. There are so many centers of excellence in this country. They are not doing resources. Even utilizing the resources given by development partners, we have about 5 trillion shillings of the donor money from the NDB, World Bank, we are not utilizing it. Yes, we are not utilizing
just borrowed it, but still
yes, there, and we are paying charges such as commitment fee for this bus and this bus. Our debt level is going up for non-utilization, we are making trips to Washington, where so these are lapidaries.
Honorable, let's talk about tax exemption. The World Bank is saying remove tax exemption. We don't need them investors, even though we have.
I think that is true. The billion he wants you to give them 3 years. They don't understand. Sure, it is not something they think about. They already made up their mind that they are coming to that. And that is the land that is around, they can even buy it. The challenge is that even buying that land becomes a problem for them. So streamline the land registry. It's for ensuring that there are no duplicate land titles. So the system is correct and clean. Go in one place, go to Uganda Investment Authority, get your immigration papers in place, get your one-stop center. That's what we need. These exemptions, but let me tell you, they are not exemptions at all.
The World Bank has carried out a survey. 90%, I think around 90%, of the investors don't they've carried out a survey. Honorable Gordon, talk to us about how this budget, how we're faring vis-a-vis DNP, the national government. We're coming to export 5 years. How will we need to start
well, in terms of implementation, that is the LDP or the categorized different clusters. You have cluster on the primary cluster. You have a cluster called the complementary. Enabling, the first one is I'll have to recall a little bit. But in terms of spending, we have noted that we have surpassed the targets in terms of expenditure on the enabling sector. Enabling sector.
So what is an amount of megawatts? We were less than 5%.
Well, I think we are moving in the right direction.
Well, as I said,
yes, well, we are beginning to move at a very fast pace. You know, now that we are
running like
no, we are running very fast, going to Karuma and Viva at the same time, and soon going to Ayago. Not that we are moving very slowly. But I was going to talk in terms of spending. You know, if you don't prioritize your resources, you spend more on security than
also
and spend half the budget, the NDP budget on
well, it's the most expensive procurement plan, $740 million.
Yeah, this is you exactly supporting my argument. You know, when you look at the NDP target that we are intending to spend on agriculture, we have all like half of that. You know, that's bad. And that means that you are only going to maintain a single GDP growth. Countries in this region are maintaining double GDP growth. Take Rwanda, take Ethiopia, you know, even in Congo, the Great Republic of Congo, is 11%.
Yeah, why?
You know?
Yes,
yes. I'm moving very fast. It's all because it's about where you invest your money. You know?
And you know that gentleman who was talking about this kind of zone. In terms of which region is for coffee, which region is for cotton, which region is for matoke, which region is spread the industry, which region is for cattle, that really congest the center. But now, the traffic jam we have in this city, the fuel, the time, where even the planning, if you have to now create planning, flyover and so forth.
bring cable cars.
Yes, cable cars.
So if you're going to one day from now to
no, but the cost of establishing the cable cars, you have to do compensation and so forth. It is going to be very, very high. And that's why the gentleman talked about inclusive growth. That means growth that takes care of the entire country, the population structure, and all the units of the economy, the soil partner and so forth, so that we know that around Lake Victoria, this is going to be the focus. In the north, because of land, we are going to do the canalization. That's the kind of plan and direct our state. We can have double-digit growth.
I mean, I just want to ask about NDP for the years was that we were supposed to have spent 13.9 trillion, and now we are going to spend 14.2 trillion. It's a very good move. The question that I think the chairman was about where are we spending the money was what was very important. If you look at what we were supposed to have spent almost 110 billion, we're going to spend only 68 billion. If you look at agriculture, we're supposed to spend 737, we're spending only 444 billion. But if you look at issues to do with interest payment, say we're supposed to have spent only 670 billion, and we are now going to spend a trillion. Public sector, 800 billion, we're going to spend another trillion. So for me, priority is
and a big number of those loans are actually not performing well.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Just my honorable members of the world. In terms of the official of the party for our program, this idea has been conducted. Coordinator of the civil society party advocacy group, also director for Trump at all. SNMG, also honorable Dr. Shadow Minister from Afghanistan and Community. I've been able to say more with Tom Oliver. More affected.
Legitimate whiskey is different. I am proud that we can now enjoy quality and taste and style too. I haven't felt so overjoyed in the life I get each